Hi, diddly-ho out there, and welcome to the first installment of the Adventures of Crunur. We'll figure out what the name sounds like as we go. This is just a little project I put together. I created a Goliath Barbarian, and I'm gonna just run some D&D. Yeah, we'll see what it does. Ryan, I saw you in chat. Hey, buddy. Welcome in. Can you hear me? Please tell me you can hear me. It would be a shame if I did all this work and this doesn't even work. So, basic premise of this little tale is that our good adventurer Crunur was separated from his tribe by a nasty blizzard, and he wound up wandering far from home. He's trying his very best to return. Whether or not he will succeed on that kind of depends on how things go. So we're going to kick things off with the Lost Mines of Phandelver. Which is, just what we're gonna do. So, if you're here for the ride, thank you. We sure do appreciate it. I appreciate it. And for those who don't know me, my name is Riley. I am a Dungeon Master for the Masters Lair. If you want to check out more of what we've got available, take a cruise around the channel, and you will be able to see exactly all of the things that we have been up to. A little bit. So, without further ado, I know we probably said something along those lines before. Let us begin the adventures of Crunur. His hopes to find home once more. Crunur has wandered far away from the mountains which he knows as home, and has found himself in a city. Not usually his type of cup of tea. He wanders about the streets for a little while, taking in the plethora of different people, lying all sorts of different races, sizes, constitutions, looks, from exotic, expensive clothing to run-down rags, and everything in between. Crunur is somewhat familiar with towns and cities. His tribe has often visited them, and he would go along as protection. But he is not used to having to communicate with individuals on his own. So, he shuffles his way into a tavern. The tavern is well lit and full of folk going about tavernly things, drinking, eating. There is a group even singing in off-kilter, off-key tones, harmony, trying to recreate some sort of sailing tune, by best you can tell, but it's quite obvious that they are fairly deep into their drinks. Crunur scoots around their table and approaches the bar, where the half-orc bartender is. Oh, good day! I'm very happy that you managed to wander in. Tell me, what is it you'll be drinking? Crunur stares down at the bartender and ponders for a moment, scratching his enormous beard. I think a good ale. Yes, a good ale. That would be what does me best. Oh, there you go. 1 cup of ale, you got 4 copper. Crunur digs around in his pockets and finds them empty. He wandered from home on a hunting trip, not expecting to have to purchase anything. Shakes his head, and the bartender slides the tankard back over to his side of the counter. Says, "Ah, well, you ain't got the money to pay for it. You don't get it. Now go on, scram." Crunur slumps a little and seems to debate whether or not he should simply try and overpower the bartender when a dwarf approaches.
Hi, lad. Look at that. Seems like your purse strings have run a little light on you, haven't they?
Yes, I do seem to be in need of these coins. I am not used to having to carry them.
Well, you're in luck. Name's Gundren the Rock Seeker, and I'm looking for somebody to escort a wagon of supplies to the town of Phandelver. It's not far from here, or Phandalin, not Phandelver. Look at me, had a little too much to drink, I have. Oh, well. Anyway, you bring that cart on down to Phandelver, and I'll give you 10 gold.
Well, Gundren, this does seem to be a acceptable proposition. When do you expect the supplies by?
Right, so me and my good pal there, Sildar Hallwinter.
Gundren the dwarf gestures over to a tall, well-armored human wearing very, very shiny armor and wielding a decent-sized sword.
We'll be setting out first thing in the morning. You've got a few days to get there, though. No need to rush. In fact, I'll go ahead and buy you that ale. A little bit of goodwill between the two of us.
That seems most acceptable. The bartender looks at Gundren expectantly, who then slides 4 coppers across the bar. He slides the drink over to Crunur, who begins to sip, as Gundren orders himself an ale.
Right, so it's just a big cart of supplies. You know, nothing too crazy. Some mining utensils, things like that. You do your very best to keep it safe from all the ne'er-do-wells and like on the roadways. And we'll reward you at the end, and maybe I'll have more work for you. Who knows?
Very well. Is there someone in particular I am to deliver these goods to?
Right, now that's a fantastic question, isn't it? Yes, it is. Well, you'll be taking it to Barthen's Provisions in Phandalin. Barthen, the proprietor there, he'll know what to do with them once they're there. Like I said, Sildar and I'll head ahead, go on out ahead, and we're gonna, set things up nice and proper. So Barthen will have your payment for you right there, and job well done, all of that.
Very well then. I will do my best to keep these supplies of yours well guarded.
Oh, I wouldn't worry too much, lad. Look at you. You're a big, tall, muscly looking fucker. I doubt most folks will mess with you in any sense.
Yes, that does seem to be the case. Well, it seems I need to make coin if I am to, in fact, journey home properly, so... Very well, the accord is struck. You shall find a place to bed for the evening, and find your supplies in the morning.
Alright, they're gonna be down by the gate, right closest to Phandalin. So you head on down that way, and you just let the stable boy know, here's a ticket for the wagon, and they'll bring it on out, and then you can, carry on your jolly old way there. Say, you got any experience driving wagons?
No, but my tribe does do a fair amount of farming, in which we use creatures to pull things such as plows and wagons of the like, so I think I ought to be able to handle it with some ease.
Right, that's good enough. You just got to keep it on the road and find your way on down to Phandalin. It's gonna be a early morning for me, and I've already had a fair amount of drinks.
Gundren says as he drains the mug of ale in front of him.
I'll look forward to seeing you in Phandalin in a few days. I'm headed off to sleep now.
Crunur finishes off his ale, observing some of the other folk in the tavern
none of whom seem overly exciting, mostly just local folk in this city. He turns to the bartender and says,
Well, I don't seem to know where I am.
"Oh, you haven't been to Neverwinter, eh? That's strange. Most folks know the name."
Yes, well, I was traveling through a nasty blizzard and I have lost my way entirely. You say this is Neverwinter? Interesting. I have traveled far indeed. We usually don't come this far south.
Oh, part of the mountain tribes up there.
Yes, I am.
Well, yeah, weather will blow you off course if you're not paying too close attention.
Yes, it was my fault. I should not have ventured alone so far. But oh well. I'll find my way home one day, I'm sure.
Best of luck.
Yes, if you see anyone else that resembles me, perhaps you could tell them that Crunur was here.
I'll try to keep that in mind. Of course, wee bit of coin would go a long way for that.
Yes, well, we've already established that I lack this coin. Very well, thank you for the libation.
That Crunur will set the mug down on the bar, siding across to the half-orc bartender, and meander his way outside, searching for an alleyway that isn't too dank and nasty, where he can bed his head. For the evening, he waits. He heads towards the gate that Gundren pointed out, and finds a section in an alley that has some old hay that isn't too slathered in filth. It settles upon the pile of hay to sleep the night away. Crunur is awakened as fresh hay is thrown upon the pile by stable boys, who are unaware of the sleeping giant in them, as he nestles himself kind of around the backside. He extricates himself, causing the two small, young human stable boys to shriek in terror and flee at a rapid rate back into the stable sidewalk. A few moments later, a more official-looking human male will come from inside the stable and go, "Good day, sir. What purpose do you have for terrifying my stable boys?"
Oh, I do apologize. I simply needed a place to lay my head, and this hay seemed better than the ground. So I slept here.
Yes, well, that is certainly less than ideal. In the future, might I suggest you get a room in an inn?
You might. Of course, I do not have any money at the moment. I have a job I'm off to do. In fact, I have this ticket for a wagon that I am supposed to acquire.
Oh? You somehow have a ticket for a wagon, and yet you cannot afford a place to sleep.
That is
Fairly odd. Have you stolen this ticket? Are you intending to make off with goods that you have not no right to properly claiming?
no. I assure you, this is all well above board. I met with this man, Gundren, at the bar, and he gave me this ticket and contracted me to follow his goods, ferry his goods to Phandelver.
The well-dressed man looks at Crunur with a disapproving eye, but seems persuaded for now, accepts the ticket, and guides Crunur to a wagon led by two oxen that is full of mining supplies, rations, and other general goods. Well, here you are. This is your wagon. A wagon set here and parked by Gundren Rockseeker, marked for transport to Phandelver. It should be about a 2 or 3 day journey, depending on how quickly you are able to travel and how well you can handle the oxen. Though given your smell, I seem to think that perhaps you'll get along with them quite well. Crunur shrugs off the jibe that this well-mannered, well-dressed man has sent in his direction and begins to approach the oxen, making small, comforting noises, extending his hand to let the smell. The oxen accept Crunur as his scent does not terrify them, and he strokes them behind their ears, snuggle in, comforting.
Yes, yes, we will do fine. Well, I suppose there's nothing else keeping me here, so I'll be off.
Yes, that would be for the best. Terrifying stable boys, sleeping old hay piles full of muck. Please, be gone, out with you. Crunur grabs the leads of the harnesses attached and makes way out of the gate. Traveling out of the road of Neverwinter to Phandelver down the way. Just getting the map all set here. Good. I'm just gonna set the travel pace of about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, about 16 hexes of Phandelver. We'll call it 15. Maybe we should keep it 16. I don't know. What do you think, chat? How long should it take Kruger to get to Phandelver? 5 days. That would make it a 4-day. We'll go 4 hexes a day. Each hex is a terrible distance. Okay. Let's go ahead and say that Crunur is going to travel 4 hexes a day. So he sets out upon his journey to Phandelver. See if he encounters anything upon the road that does not meet the DC. So Crunur travels down the road that is surrounded by plains on one side and the coast of the Sea of Swords on the other. Plodding along with the oxen in tow, skirting around a few ruts and mud puddles. And all right, Ryan, have a good one. And we're just Crunur leads the oxen and the wagon down the roadway. So, 1, 2. Make them smaller. Crunur decides to stop for the evening, settling in near the roadside on the plains side. Goes ahead and attempts to set up a camp, but is unsuccessful in scavenging any nearby food or even finding a freshwater spring. All he finds is muddy pools, forcing him to rely on the rations he has instead of eating fresh this day. He's unable to create a fire or really find a decent spot to lay his bedroll, as a light rain begins to fall. Evening sets in, and Crunur does his best to stay awake for at least the first few portions of the evening, trying to ensure that he is not encroached upon while he sleeps. Alright, his passive perception is 15. That's not too shabby. Let's go ahead and get the camp map set up. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, a few minutes to put something together here. Taking a look at some images. Let's see if we can find one that'll work at least. No. Let's see. That'll work. Boo-boo-boo. Alright. So, Crunur was not successful in fire. So, just have a bedroll. Let's get the wagon in here. That will be Crunur's camp for tonight. Okay. So, Crunur is going to take at least one watch. Keeping an eye out. Nothing seems to be lurking. Well, the time frame of the first watch. Crunur's eyes begin to grow heavy. Settles into his bedroll. Sleeps for the rest of the evening, which seems to pass by without incident for now. New day dawns. The rain continues to come down as Crunur begins to head out once more upon his journey towards Phandelver. Sets out for the day once more. This time, however, he is not going to go unharried. he comes across a section of the road where several large insects come out of the brushes and kind of surround. We're gonna get into our first initiative situation for Crunur. As 3 sturgeons have emerged from out of the woods and near the block the road. So oops. Might not be working. That's okay. Alright, let's make sure these guys are set up. Great. And Sturges rolled. And Rune. And we're going to throw in a little bit of exciting music. Maybe. Sure. All right. So, the Sturges get to go first. They are going to come and surround Crunur. Each one of them taking up blood drain bite as they attempt to attach. One will not, and the last one will fail miserably, spinning out of control and accidentally bumping its wing. It collapses to the ground, prone. One Sturge, however, does manage to attach itself to Crunur, dealing 4 initial piercing damage. And globbing on. That is going to bring us to our hero, Crunur, who is going to pull out a hand axe and take a slice at the Sturge that has just landed itself upon him. That is not going to hit the Sturge as it veers away. The Sturges will go again. Another one will attach itself, and the last one will pick itself up, regain its wings, and attach to Crunur. That will be a total of 11 damage. Crunur will take 4 damage from the one that is currently stuck to him, and that will drop Crunur unconscious. This is going so well. Right off the bat, we're just going to drop into, the danger zone. So, let's see how Crunur fails. Fares. Okay. 1 step towards stabilization and dies next turn. As the life force fades from Crunur, he is sucked into a vortex of sorts, his soul not willing to depart yet, and he comes face to face with a foggy shape that he can't quite make out. It's definitely a figure of some kind, but it seems to be made of opaque clouds or blurring sensations. He cannot focus upon it. And a garbled voice comes from it. He cannot understand what it says, but he feels his soul bonked away. And he is reset to before he died. He once more arises in camp and finds himself alive. The wounds that the Sturges inflicted are not there anymore. And he seems unsettled.
That is most certainly strange occurrence. Wonder if it will happen again.
This time, Crunur is aware of the threat ahead and approaches the Sturges much more cautiously. He's going to get to re-roll his initiative, which is not going so well. But the Sturges also re-roll. Wind up going first once more. The Sturges will swarm around Crunur. Each of them attempting to attach. 2 of them will break through his armor, his thick, stone-like hide. Crunur will use a reaction to activate Stone's Endurance. Reduce the damage on one of those hits. Reduce the first one by 3, take 2 damage, 5 from the other. That is going to wrap up the Sturges. Crunur this time around is going to use his first bonus action to enter into a rage. His muscles bulge and crack as if stones are grinding together, and his voice settles into a long, grinding growl that sounds as if 2 mountains plates are shifting beneath the earth, and he pulls his great axe from his back and swings one of the Sturges. That will hit the Sturge. Cleaving it in twain and leaving it dead upon the ground. Crunur will growl, and heft his axe once more, targeting another Sturge. Cleaving it in twain. As well. That's going to end Crunur's turn, and the Sturge, final remaining Sturge, will do its best to try and attach itself to him. Will not be successful. Crunur will duck aside, spinning as he does to whirl his great axe around once more, slicing into the final Sturge and felling it with a deft blow. Sigh, sheathing his great axe.
Strange. I wonder why I got another chance at that. what that voice was trying to tell me. Never mind. Focus at the task on hand, Crunur. You must be off.
He puts the great axe away, reaches into his kit. In search of something that he might be able to heal himself with, remembers that he did not have a chance to gain anything. Grabbing the reins of the oxen once more, he plods forward, further down the road. That was there. As he travels for several more hours, he runs the risk of another encounter this day. Will indeed encounter something else. Looming in the path ahead is an ogre.
So, if you're keeping track, Crunur has died once. We will see how far his death count gets before he finally achieves his goal and maybe learns something about the mysterious shape that brought him back, or reversed. But for now, Crunur's way is blocked by a vicious-looking ogre. Due to the fact that he's been traveling for several hours without an encounter, we are going to allow Crunur to take a short rest for this encounter begins.
So, that out of the way.
Alright. So, let's see how Crunur fares against the ogre that now blocks the path, which turns, wielding a massive club that it slams into the ground and mutters in Giant, which is on Crunur's list. No one passes. I keep road blocked. You give me toll or you die. Crunur says, well, sadly, ogre, I have no money I can give you to cover the toll. So it would seem that we must battle. Draws his great axe in anticipation and enters a rage once more, the grinding of rocks, trembling of earth. He rushes forward, swinging his great axe at the ogre. Boop. Wink. The first swing will get completely rejected by the great club, which the ogre flicks with a deft movement of its wrist and laughs heartily. Little man try thing? No. My turn. He will swing the great club with great success, slamming it into Kruger for 5 bludgeon. Crunur will growl as his turn, as he comes back up, gritting his teeth through the pain and swinging the great axe once more. Once again, the ogre blocks his strike, laughing as he does, and slams his club at Crunur once more, but Crunur is able to deftly step aside, catching the glow in a glancing fashion against his arm and pushing it off. Crunur then
swings at the ogre. This one landing, dealing a punishing 12 points of damage as it digs deep into the ogre's flesh. Cleave only works on a second creature, so there is no second creature here. But Crunur has managed to damage the ogre, who growls gutturally and says, "You try hard. Yes, you will make good fight." Swings his club once more, landing a massive hit against Crunur, who will go ahead and use Stone's Endurance to reduce this damage by... Whoops. Oops, did it again. I wish I could reduce it by that much, but we'll reduce it by 3. So 10 and 12 is a total of 22, reduction of 3. 19 divided by 2. 3. Crunur will take 9 points of damage, looking severely injured as the club bashes into his waist. The ogre will say, "You are almost done." Crunur will grit his teeth and say, "Never count me out, beast." Swing once more with his great axe, landing another blow to deal 12 damage to the ogre. Oh, I get to add my con mod damage reduction. Whoopsie. So, that will reduce the damage by 4 more. So, Crunur is in better shape. At least. However, it is the ogre's turn once more, who swings with that club, slamming it down, managing to work its way through for the final 6 hit points of Crunur's health. Crunur falls to the ground unconscious once more. Manages to make his first save. The ogre beats upon him for a failure. And just at the last second, Crunur is able to bounce back. His own willpower giving him strength, and as he rises to the ground, he'll take a sweeping swing with his great axe, which will hit the ogre, dealing 16 points of damage. The ogre looks surprised and swings once more at Crunur. This will land, once again dropping Crunur to 0 hit points. Die once more. This time he's whooped away through the same portal system and finds himself backtracking to the start of the day. Not back to the ogre fights, but back to before he encountered the scourges. It seems like there are rules to this time jumping. Those rules are always. If he dies, he must try again from the beginning of the day. So we're going to reset the scourge count. Well, this does seem strange. It seems I reset to the top of the day if I die. Meaning I must make some decent progress this day, or I shall surely never get past the obstructions here. once again. Roll initiative.
Crunur and Friggin. Alright, Crunur gets to go first. He's going to save his rage. Come here, swinging at this sturge. His first strike from axe, which the sturge will just barely get out of the way of. The three sturges will do their best to attach themselves to Crunur. Two of them will be successful. 6, dealing a total of 13 damage. Crunur will swing at one of the ones that is attached itself. This will not be successful. Sturges. Two of them are attached, and that damage will be enough to put it down. The third one will attach itself. Once again, Crunur is evaporated back to the start of the day. And we'll try once more, traveling down the road. It seems that the day itself resets entirely when he awakens at camp. It's the same time of morning that he originally awoke, as if somebody is plucking him from the timeline and inserting him back at the start of his day each time he dies. Crunur will rush forward once more, attempting to hit the sturges. Sturge will just barely duck beneath that blow. 3 of them will try. One will be able to sink an attack, attaching for 6 points of damage. Crunur will do his best to detach the one that has got itself attached to him, swinging the great axe and obliterating that sturge, slicing it in half. Crunur then gets to use the cleave ability of his great axe, swinging once more, and this time catching the second sturge just with the edge of the blade, and causing it to fall. The final sturge, to its very best, will not be able to attach itself to Crunur, who will then swing upon the sturge and crush it. So Crunur has managed to once again defeat 3 sturges. Short rest. Be back at full health when he comes upon the ogre. Still blocking the road. The ogre looks at Crunur and slams his great club down into the ground. Says, "No one passes without paying the toll." Crunur flexes his arms and says, "Well, I do not have what it takes to pay your toll. So I suppose we shall have to battle to see who is triumphant." Once again, get ready for battle with ogre. This time, Crunur is going to get to go first. He is going to activate his rage right off the bat and rush up, swinging his great axe at the ogre, and it will not. He connects with the ogre's hide, but it's not enough to pierce through it. And the ogre smiles, laughing, as he then swings his great club down upon Crunur, which it will not clear Crunur's tough hide. We're back around the top of the order, and Crunur will once again drive his axe forward, this time burying it deep
into the ogre's flesh. With a critical hit, Crunur will deal 18 points of damage to the ogre, who is then going to raise his club once more, grunting through the pain and swing down. Crunur's armor class is once again stone, kind of reflects upon his skin where the blow hits, bouncing the club off of him. He turns and swings with his great axe once more, snarling almost like a beast, but it sounds of crushing stones. This one the ogre will repel with his own hand, slapping the great axe aside and twirling into another great club hit of his own, which will not break the barrier of Crunur's tough stone-like skin. Crunur turns back and swings again at the ogre, this one connecting for 17 points of damage. As the axe bites deep, the ogre growls in pain and tries to clobber Crunur with the club. Crunur smashes the club from the ogre's hands, disarming him for this round, and then takes another swipe with his great axe, cleaving into the ogre for 16 more damage. The ogre looks to be on its last legs, huffing and puffing, great scars stretching across its body, gushing blood from them. It says, "No, I will not fall here," and rises up with its great axe, smashing Crunur in the head for a total of 7 points of damage. Crunur reels slightly as the blow lands, but regains his composure and strikes back with his great axe, digging deep once more into the ogre's flesh, right at the base of his neck, the blade pulling all the way through, blood gushing outward. The ogre barely being able to whisper out through his somewhat severed vocal cords, "No, this was not how it was supposed to end." Crunur growling, "And so you perish." With that, Crunur has successfully defeated the ogre that blocked the path. Journeys onward, finally coming to the close of this day without further interruption. He will once again do his best to set up a campsite along the roadside, searching for anything that he might be able to eat, nuts, berries, things of that nature. He finds a few wild carrots, which he is able to consume, and at least this time manages to light a fire, making the evening a little less uncomfortable than last night. So, with his fire and his bedroll, Crunur will take a watch. Night. Crunur's eyes do not see anything. The rain slowly begins to worsen. Almost like as the night progresses onward, Crunur rolls his bedroll under the wagon to try and avoid the rain. And sleeps. As the night falls. Travels deeper. Turns deeper, darker. Some things, shadows, moving around edges of sight.
Crunur awakens the next morning, having taken a rest without any interruptions throughout the night. And arises to his journey once more. First half of today. No encounter on the first half of the day. Crunur will make some progress. By midday, he comes upon a fork in the road, which he was told he'll need to turn down. There's a signpost there. It notates that the high road continues to the south, but the tribal trail runs off to the east. Crunur will attempt to make the turn and manages to keep the oxen happy and makes the turn down this tribal trail. Begins to journey along it. He is unharried. He travels throughout the day. Night eventually falls. Crunur will set up another. Make an attempt to set up another camp, hoping to find more. This time he is much more successful. He is able to track down a deer that is huddled up in some of the plains-like area. An entire family of them. He hunts just the one. Drops it. Obtaining 7 days worth of rations. So, it deftly cuts the beast apart. Crunur will store 6 of those rations and eat one of the hunks of venison roasted over the fire for dinner. This evening, he's also managed to set up a small shelter with some rushes and sticks on the side of the wagon, which is keeping the rain away from him. He will go ahead and spend the first few hours keeping an eye out. He catches sight of a few shapes hunched at the edge of his vision, but they don't seem to approach. They pause for a brief moment, and then move on. So he pays it no mind, thinking it better to mind his camp, than go tramping off into the night after mysterious shapes that might or might not be things of a terrifying nature. Crunur will awaken and set out upon his journey once more. He gets a little ways down the road when he comes upon a peculiar scene. Up ahead in the roadway, 2 dead horses riddled with arrows block the path. And as Crunur pulls the wagon along with the oxen following behind him, this is where we'll leave his tale for now. Tune in next time for more of the adventures of Crunur. Till then.